Today we will look at key terms in knowledge management. This will be covering some very basic terms that is essential to all persons who would like to delve more into knowledge management. The first, let's start with Ikujiro Nonaka. His formative experience is Japanese. He's an established scholar and he even just won the Thinkers 50 award. He sees knowledge at the heart of the organization, and his aim was to develop Michael Polanyi's conception of tacit knowledge in a practical direction to enhance organizational knowledge creation. For him, what matters is practice, the doing, and the embodiment of knowledge. Now, he came up with something called the spiral process. Nonaka holds that it is important to explore the potential that knowledge holds. His spiral process, as we will see shortly, describes practices, discipline practices that make tacit knowledge independent and available to restructure the organizational knowledge context. So here is the spiral process. You see that this is spiral because these four processes: externalization, combination, intonation, socialization, or as some folks refer to it, SECI, is how any knowledge creation happens in any organization, right? So socialization means I know, you know, and we share. And then once we share, it becomes externalization if it's a recorded material, right? That's externalization. Recorded meaning it's hard copy or something that it's easy to refer to. So once you know or you've referred to this information or knowledge, you combine it with actually doing any work related to it. So then it becomes systemic knowledge. And finally, once as you do this more often, it becomes an internal knowledge. You don't have to remember it anymore. You just learn by doing it often, and it finally is inside of you. It becomes tacit knowledge. So you're ready. You've learned something, and once you've learned this, there is a potential for the next round of things to happen, which is improving, innovation. All this will be the second round of going back into the spiral process just now. Again, you go and you have improved something, you share, it's documented, and the person who's documenting it may, person who's reading the documentation, or the person who's referring to the externalized knowledge, conceptual knowledge, combines it with whatever he does, and once it becomes an internal information for him or his department, he's able to innovate and improve the process. And the SESI process repeats itself. So that is the spiral process. Now, now we know how Nonaka started things. So what is knowledge management? So I wanted to talk to you about that one first, because we know how knowledge management now works in an organization. So is it about just data and information? No. It's about making use of data and information to get value, be it for yourself, that's something called personal knowledge management, or for the organization or the economy as a whole. Next, let's see what are the knowledge enablers, right? So as far as I'm concerned, the key to knowledge enabling in an organization, or especially if you're talking about personal knowledge management, it's all about you, the person, right? Folks that form part of the knowledge workers are workers whose main capital is knowledge. Typical examples may include software engineers, architects, engineers, scientists, and lawyers, because they basically think for a living. These are the folks that ensure that knowledge remains and get transferred efficiently throughout the organization, while at all time creating a better cycle of innovation for the organization. Innovation is money. So who is important? The people. And how do they ensure knowledge is improved at all times? They innovate by creating new knowledge. So are people enough? though they're core, are they enough? No. We also need to help support them with infrastructure. So we have infrastructures like technology, organization, standard operating procedures, networking. All these play a role in leveraging knowledge in the company and helps to create new knowledge. So we've got people, we've got infrastructure, can include people as well, because without people there's no infrastructure. So once you've got all this right, these are um, abilities that will help enable knowledge. But what if there's keep on hitting a certain roadblock? That certain roadblock that needs change could be culture. So when we talk about culture, we talk about organizational norms. In some organizations, even as Nonaka-san says, he says that even till today there are still organizations out there who have problem with change, right? So why doesn't change happen? Because people don't share knowledge that there is need for change, right? So knowledge enabling factors such as learning from past mistakes, encouragement by others, eagerness to share, self-reflection, comparison and recognition of new knowledge, all this a norm if your organization has allowed and practices it often. But if it becomes a barrier, if it does not happen in the organization often, it's not. If your organization is one that tends to lose a lot of knowledge if people leave the organization, then this is something that you need to do to make sure the organization and the people improve as well. So making individuals in organizations share their knowledge, that's the key. And that key comes under the culture enabler of knowledge management. Right, so once we have all of those, how are we going to talk more, or as I promised, I will speak more about tacit and explicit knowledge. Explicit knowledge, as we saw from the SESI process just now, it's how data is codified. Codified data that can be read or heard, those are all codified data. But what is the other big chunk? Where is that other big chunk? That is in the tacit knowledge. Tacit knowledge includes experience, thinking, competence, commitment, and deed. So that is under tacit knowledge. So look at this iceberg metaphor. It describes the relationship between explicit and tacit knowledge. You see that only 5%, according to this metaphor, is explicit, but the big chunk, where is it? In the tacit. So what do you want to do as an organization? You want to get that tacit information and tacit knowledge and pass it around as explicit. So here is some facts that you want to look at. Are they totally separate, tacit and explicit? No, but they definitely complement each other. So knowledge creation is anchored to a critical assumption that human knowledge is created and expanded through social interaction between tacit and explicit knowledge creation. With that, we end. With that, I've introduced you to some of the key terms in knowledge management. Hope you have enjoyed this. Make sure you also check out my other videos on knowledge management. Thank you.